Hey everyone, Buddha here, bringing you the second game of the best of 5 series between xSixVer versus ePValkyrie. Now this is from the Gamecom Open tournament. It is the second game of the round of 8, and in case you haven't seen the last game, the Gamecom Open tournament was an open tournament free to register for everyone, so bronze through Grandmaster, and there were over 1,000 players. These two players have plowed their way through the tournament, and we are now down to 8 players. And there are $2,000 on the line, so it's not pocket change, it's a lot of money, especially for our amateur player ePValkyrie, who is up against a pro player, xSixVer, from the xSix gaming team. His colleague xSixShadow is also still in this tournament, so look for those games. They will be great. By the way, the finals and semifinals will be casted by HD StarCraft himself, so definitely look for those, because one of these two players will be moving on towards those finals, the semifinals at least. Now, in the last game, we actually saw Valkyrie that I have casted his round of 16 as well, so look for those games. We actually learn a lot from him, and he is most likely going to go for some early aggression, pulling out 3 Marines and some Hellions, as he usually does, and xSix actually went for a very fast expansion in the first game. Will he actually go for the same build in this one? We will just have to wait and see. He is saving up a lot of money, so look for an expansion to actually go down soon enough. He is saving up 400 minerals, and he actually gonna throw it down on the low ground, so this is very, very ballsy at this point, because this is gonna be so vulnerable. Especially since ePValkyrie really likes that early aggression. You will see him move out with these initial Marines as soon as they take care of that SCV, and look for them to actually start applying pressure. One factory actually going up for Valkyrie, and he is really going to move out here and put a lot of pressure on xSixVer. One Marine getting picked off at the center of the map, pulling all the SCVs here. Valkyrie will lose a lot of FCVs, but he absolutely needs to hold this. Remember, he can actually just reproduce those SCVs so fast after this aggression, because he will be ahead in one base. Now, nice micro here by Valkyrie, but he should have actually just tried to pick off that bunker while it was building. But that bunker won't cover enough surface area, and then Valkyrie will be able to actually move in here, maybe pick off an extra SCV. Pulling out all the SCVs along with 2 Marines might be able to do some damage. Really, Valkyrie really needs to actually do some damage, because he will fall ever so far behind after this. If xSixVer actually manages to hold this off without losing too many SCVs, he will be in a commanding position. Let's see the workers killed tab now. Only 2 workers lost from by Ver. Valkyrie really needs to do a lot of damage at this point. Killing another one. He should focus fire this injured one right here. He's going to lose this Marine. And now Ver is actually looking good. He only lost 3 SCVs there. He has an extra base. He is behind on the Harvester count, but look for that to actually close in quite fast. Meanwhile, Valkyrie is actually producing a Medevac from his starport, so no Banshee play like we saw in that round of 16. He really emphasized the Banshees in that round because, well, apparently he felt that was a great thing, and he did a lot of damage with that. Now he's actually going to elevator inside the main base, and this might do a lot of damage. There's only a single tank and inside the main base and 2 Marines. And with this Medevac to actually heal the Marines, they might get quite an advantage. Pulling all the SCVs at this point also, and they're gonna be chased away. Great micro there, actually saving that tank when it was very low on health. He might be able to get the supply depot. He will get it, and nice damage here, free damage. Another tank joining this battle will have to push back because, well, there's just too many reinforcements here by xSix, and he is still not mining. He has to get those SCV back to work. 31 to 28 harvesters at this point. 48 supply to 38 for Valkyrie. So Valkyrie is actually looking good. He has his own expansion, so he will be able to catch up in that harvester count, and or at least not fall any more behind. And really, he has a nice position here on the low ground. There aren't many units here by xSixVer, so this might be a rough spot for him. This tank does not see this one on the low ground despite it being in range. Remember that the tanks actually outrange their sight, so you need something to spot for them. Actually, Valkyrie will be elevatoring these units on top of the ramp and actually dropping them on the tank that is huge, that is free damage, that is actually so nice by Valkyrie, doing free damage and actually saving both these tanks, not taking any damage. So taking out 2 tanks from xSixVer is actually quite huge at this point. Now gonna elevator more units on top of the ramp here, and xSixVer, his single tank will be able to push this back, at least for now, and Valkyrie is really looking good in this game. I mean, he is ahead on harvesters, he is ahead in supply, he is elevatoring these tanks once more inside the main base of xSix, and Ver is actually going to have to pull all these buildings back. Will this tank actually be able to come out before the factory goes down? It will. These Marines are going to start hacking away. He should actually target fire these SCVs, kill SCVs, or hug this tank at this point. These Marines will die from the fire of the supporting tank, but really a nice position by Valkyrie on the low ground. On the high ground, 1 Viking will make its way into the main base, will be chased away by 2 more Vikings by Ver. Unfortunately, wasn't chased away, he just lost it. This might actually go down. That was so close. Actually, this medevac so close to dying there to the Vikings. 2 Vikings will be able to control the air at this point. Ver is ahead in harvesters, but way behind on supply. You can actually see 70 to 85 supply. And Valkyrie actually going to decide to go behind here and see for the 3rd base. Actually might siege up on the high ground here. It's a lot better idea than actually sieging up in front of the base, because you have the high ground advantage, and still more reinforcements coming. And Valkyrie once again is looking really, really good at this point. Might be able to tie up this series 1-1. Remember, right now it is 1-0 for xSixVer. And shelling away at this barracks, it will burn down if it's not repaired right now. This Viking was almost able to pick out the medevac, but these Marines moving forward just a bit were able to chase it down. 50 to 47 harvesters, so very close in the harvester count. Stimpack is now halfway done for xSixVer. That will enable him to maybe push this back. Actually, Valkyrie has this tendency to actually separate his army and makes these little groups very vulnerable to being picked off. We actually saw some mistakes here, and Valkyrie, nah, that's not a good idea. Pushing forward with 3 tanks, with 3 siege tanks on the low ground, and supporting Marines will be able to chase these back. Might lose one if he's not careful. And once again, actually, Ver is going for an expansion up here, so very ballsy move. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, because Valkyrie really has map control at this point, and it's very likely to actually get scouted. Simply because of the map control that Valkyrie has, drops, Vikings, scouting SCVs are actually a possibility everywhere there, and you can actually see one SCV is going up there. It will spot the expansion. Meanwhile, Valkyrie is sieging up at the front of the base, and this SCV will actually spot the expansion. No! It just barely misses it. That is so lucky, actually, by Ver. Meanwhile, this push is actually going to go, these 3 tanks are actually going to push up the ramp, completely just ignoring these 3. Going to kill off a lot of workers here if he's not careful. You can see 25 workers lost by Ver. And luckily for him, he did have that command center up a lot sooner than his opponents, so they are still even on the harvester count. Valkyrie losing his entire army, though. Now he actually has to be careful. Did he spot that expansion? No, he did not. So right now he has a false sense of security. He thinks that actually he could starve his opponent on 2 bases while he gets his 3rd base, but that is not the case. His opponent right now has a 3rd base up and running. Luckily for Valkyrie, his 3rd base is already done. He will turn that into an orbital command soon enough. Once again, sieging on the low ground, gonna elevator more Marines on the high ground, gonna do even more damage. These tanks have actually pushed forward for Ver, and this is not a good position. I mean, Valkyrie is doing so much damage inside the main base. One tank is shelling away at those Marines on the edge here, but these Marines can go back here and do so much damage. And once again, Valkyrie is looking great, but he doesn't know about this expansion that might be huge for Ver. This is exactly what he needs to actually come back here. He is going to drop in the 3rd base, and that is really what he needs to do right now. These little drops getting an expansion without his opponent knowing, actually going to go for a 4th base here, so it will all look very normal to Valkyrie. And little does he know, it is now 4 bases versus only 3, so Ver might actually come back in this game. Nice drop here, might do a bit of damage, picking off some SCVs. Nice reflexes though by Valkyrie. He instantly spots that and pulls out all his SCVs. He will clean this up with a couple of Marines. Ver should really actually just load up and go back home. There he goes, saving all of his Marines. This is something that Valkyrie has actually struggled to do. He has been sacrificing a lot of units during his games and really not optimizing their lifetime. If he just manages to actually, we've seen this with Hellions most of all, sacrificing Hellions inside the main base, behind the mineral lines, losing these Hellions, I mean killing SCVs is really good, but you should really try and save the Hellions because they will be a big part of your main army. Valkyrie actually taking down this command center. He might actually be able to get it. This is so close from dying. No more Marines, but this might actually burn down at this point. It will be saved by these SCVs. So denying that 3rd base, Valkyrie actually thinks that he is 2 bases versus 3 bases. Little does he know there is a base up here that has been mining for a while and has so many mules. No gas yet on this 3rd base from Valkyrie. He still has complete map control at this point and the army advantage, but again, this might be his downfall. Ver has been on 3 bases for quite some time, at least as long as Valkyrie, and he doesn't know about this, so Valkyrie might be tempted to actually just sack units until he can starve his opponent because he is on 3 bases and he believes that his opponent is only on 2. Now this command center that was saved, barely saved by Ver, is going to be under siege by this huge army, by Valkyrie sieging his tanks before Ver this time, and Valkyrie has not been sieging his tanks in time in Game 1. I guess he learned his lesson. He really needs to siege his tanks. And now these Marines are going to kill even more Marines, denying mining from this 3rd base, or 4th base I should say, by Ver. And really this is still looking so good for Valkyrie. 161 to 96 supply, so he did manage to get the advantage in this exchange. There are still a lot of units, and really Valkyrie should be pushing the front right now. He has his army so separated, and this is really his downfall. He separates his army, he leaves small groups of units across the map, and they are very vulnerable to actually getting picked off. These units could be doing so much damage to the front of the base right now, or actually just supporting this army. And he really thinks that right now he is denying any kind of mining from this 3rd base, but little does he know, Ver still has this 3rd base up and running that Valkyrie does not know about. Luckily for Valkyrie, he is gaining slowly the advantage because his exchange have been just a tiny bit better than his opponents. Now Valkyrie is actually going to support this small group of units with a very large push, and this could be devastating at this point. There are only 2 tanks at the front to guard this, and this is so many units. Valkyrie is almost max at this point. Gonna lose a few tanks, but he is going to push forward inside the main base of 6 jacks. Ver, check 6, sorry, not 6 jacks. Check 6 Ver and expect GG at this point because there is no way he holds this. There it is, GG, and we are going into Game 3 of this series, so tune in, guys.